Los Angeles, California, Beverly Hills Hotel, Polo Lounge, March 1970, Thursday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. The Polo Lounge is where deals happen, not just any deals, the kind that shape careers and franchises and decades of cinema. Dark wood paneling, green leather booths, waiters who've seen every major star in Hollywood and learned to be invisible unless needed. This is where producers meet actors, where agents negotiate contracts, where careers are made and sometimes destroyed over lunch that costs more than most people's weekly salary. Clint Eastwood sits in a corner booth, 40 years old, wearing jeans and a simple button-down shirt, no suit, no tie. He doesn't dress for Hollywood, never has. If someone wants to meet with him, they take him as he is. Across from him sits Albert Cubby Broccoli, mid-60s, expensive suit, gold watch, tanned from the Palm Springs golf course. He's one of the most powerful producers in the film industry, co-producer of the James Bond franchise. The man who turned Ian Fleming's novels into a global phenomenon. Next to Broccoli sits Harry Saltzman, his producing partner. Also well-dressed, also powerful. Between them, they control one of the most valuable properties in cinema. They ordered lunch 30 minutes ago, made small talk, discussed the state of the industry, complimented Clint on his recent work, The Dollars Trilogy, Coogan's Bluff, Where Eagles Dare. Now, coffee arrived, the real conversation begins. Broccoli sets down his cup, looks at Clint with the directness of a man who's closed 1,000 deals. Clint, we'll get straight to the point. We want you for James Bond. Clint doesn't react, just waits. Saltzman continues. Sean Connery is done. He's made it clear, no more Bond films. We need to recast. We need someone who can carry the franchise for the next decade. Someone with presence. Someone international audiences already know and love. Broccoli leans forward. We've considered a dozen actors, English, American, Australian, and we keep coming back to you. You have everything Bond needs. The physicality, the danger, the sex appeal, the international stardom. He pauses, lets that sink in. You'd be perfect. Clint sips his coffee, says nothing. Saltzman jumps in. We're prepared to offer you 3 films, guaranteed, with options for more if you want them. The money would be substantial, more than you've made on anything else. And the exposure, Clint, Bond is seen by more people than any other film franchise. Hundreds of millions, every country, every demographic. Broccoli adds, this isn't just a role, it's a phenomenon. It's entering the cultural consciousness. Bond is forever. 50 years from now, people will still watch these films, still know the character, and you'd be part of that legacy. He lets the silence stretch, the offer hanging in the air like smoke. Finally, Clint speaks. What's the commitment? 3 films over 5 years, roughly 1 every 18 months. Shooting would take about 6 months per film. Location work in England, the Caribbean, Europe. First-class everything. The best directors, the best production values. And creative input? Saltzman hesitates. This is where actors usually get difficult. Creative input would be collaborative. We have a formula that works. We'd want your thoughts, of course. But Bond is Bond. The character is established. The tone is established. So I'd be playing someone else's vision of the character. You'd be playing James Bond, the character millions of people love. Clint sets down his coffee cup, looks at both producers. His face is unreadable. That's the problem. Broccoli frowns. What problem? James Bond isn't mine. He's Ian Fleming's. He's Sean Connery's. He's yours. He belongs to the franchise, to the formula, to the audience's expectations. There's no room to make him my own. Saltzman shakes his head. Clint, you'd make him your own automatically, just by being you. Your presence, style, your interpretation, within limits, within the formula. I couldn't fundamentally change him, couldn't take real risks, couldn't make him darker or more violent or more complex than the franchise allows. I'd be serving the property, not creating a character. Broccoli's frustration is showing. That property has made Sean Connery the most famous actor in the world. It could do the same for you. I don't want to be famous for playing someone else's character. I want to build something of my own. You'd be building on Bond, standing on the shoulders of a proven phenomenon. I'd be standing in Sean Connery's shadow. And when I was done, the next actor would stand in mine. That's the problem with franchises. The property is bigger than the actor. The actor becomes replaceable. Saltzman tries a different approach. Think about the money, Clint. We're talking 7 figures per film, plus back end, plus merchandising. This is generational wealth. Security for you and your family forever. Clint's jaw tightens slightly. First sign of emotion. I don't make decisions based on money. I make them based on whether the work is worth doing. And playing James Bond isn't worth doing? Not for me. Maybe for someone else. But not for me. Broccoli is losing patience. Clint, do you understand what you're turning down? This is the biggest franchise in cinema. Bigger than anything you've done. Bigger than anything you'll ever do. You walk away from this, you'll regret it. Clint looks at him. Cold. Direct. No. One word, flat, final. Saltzman tries one more time. At least think about it. Take a week. Consider, I don't need a week. The answer is no. Why? Give us a real reason. Clint is quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain something he barely understands himself. Because I've spent the last 10 years building a career where I control what I do, where I choose the roles, where I work with directors who trust me. And James Bond would be stepping back into someone else's vision, someone else's control, someone else's formula. He leans forward. You said Bond is forever. You're right. But that means whoever plays him disappears into the role, becomes that guy who played Bond. I don't want that. I want to play 10 different characters, 20, 30. I want to surprise people, take risks, fail sometimes, succeed other times, but always on my terms. Bond would give you the security to take those risks. Bond would be so big that nothing else would matter. Everything I did after would be compared to Bond, measured against Bond, and that's not the career I want. Broccoli sits back. Defeated. He's made his pitch, made his case, offered more money and prestige than most actors see in a lifetime, and got one word. No. He signals the waiter, asks for the check. The meeting is over. As they stand to leave, Broccoli says, "You're making a mistake, Clint. In 5 years, someone else will be playing Bond, making millions, famous worldwide. And you'll be making westerns that fewer and fewer people watch." Clint puts on his jacket. "Maybe, but they'll be my westerns, my choices, my career. That's cold comfort when you're not the most famous actor in the world." Clint smiles, small, brief. "I'm not trying to be the most famous. I'm trying to be the best at what I do." There's a difference. They leave the Polo Lounge. 3 men who will never work together. Broccoli and Saltzman eventually cast George Lazenby, an Australian model with almost no acting experience. He makes one Bond film on Her Majesty's Secret Service, then quits. Hates the pressure, hates the typecasting, hates being owned by a franchise. His career never recovers. He makes a few small films, fades into obscurity, remembered only as the guy who played Bond once. They try Roger Moore next. He makes 7 Bond films over 12 years, becomes famous, becomes wealthy, becomes forever associated with the role. When he dies in 2017, every obituary leads with Roger Moore, who played James Bond. Not Roger Moore, the actor. Not Roger Moore, who had a diverse career. Just Bond. Forever Bond. 1971. 1 year after turning down Bond, Clint makes Dirty Harry. The film makes $36 million, creates an iconic character, launches a franchise. But here's the difference. It's Clint's character, his creation, his interpretation, and exists because of Clint, not despite him. When people think of Dirty Harry, they think of Clint. The character is inseparable from the actor. That's the difference between playing Bond and creating Harry. 1973, High Plains Drifter. Clint directs and stars. A dark, violent Western that breaks every rule. Critics are divided. Audiences love it. It makes $15 million, not Bond money, but it's his. Completely his. 1976, Josie Wales. Another Western, another directing job, another risk. Makes $31 million, becomes a classic. 1982, Firefox. A thriller. Clint plays a pilot. Different genre, different character, different risk. It works, makes money, expands his range. Through the 1970s and 1980s, while Bond cycles through different actors, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, Clint makes 20 films, plays 20 different characters, directs 15 films, builds a production company, creates a legacy that's his and his alone. No one compares his work to someone else's interpretation. No one says he's not as good as the previous Clint Eastwood, because there is no previous Clint Eastwood, there's just him. 1992, Unforgiven. A Western about aging and violence and regret, wins 4 Academy Awards including Best Picture and Best Director. Clint stands on stage at the Oscars, accepts the statue, gives a 30-second speech. No one in that room is thinking about James Bond. No one is wishing he'd played 007. They're thinking about Harry Callahan and The Man with No Name and William Money and the 30-year career that led to this moment. A career built on choices, on saying no when everyone expected yes, on trusting instinct over money, on valuing control over fame. 2004, $1 Million Baby, another Best Picture, another Best Director. Clint is 74 years old, still working, still taking risks, still making films that matter. And James Bond? In 2004, the role belongs to Pierce Brosnan. Soon it will go to Daniel Craig, then it will go to someone else, and someone after that. Because Bond is forever. But the actors are temporary, replaceable, interchangeable. And Clint understood that in March 1970, sitting in the Polo Lounge, listening to 2 powerful producers offer him the world. He said no, because he understood what they were really offering. Not a role, a cage, a golden cage, a prestigious cage, a wealthy cage, but a cage nonetheless. A cage where he'd first and Clint second. Where every choice would be filtered through franchise requirements. Where every risk would be calculated against brand protection. Where every character trait would be measured against audience expectations. And Clint didn't want that. Didn't need that. He wanted freedom. He wanted control. He wanted to build something of his own. So he said no. One word, final. And built a career that lasted 60 years. 40 films as a director. Over 50 as an actor. 4 Oscars, 12 nominations, and no one, not one person, knows him. That guy who played someone else's character. They know him as Clint Eastwood, actor, director, filmmaker, legend. Not because he played it safe, not because he took the biggest offers, not because he chose fame over control, because he said no. When saying yes would have been easier, when saying yes would have made him richer, when saying yes would have made him more famous. He said no because he knew something the producers didn't. Fame fades, money gets spent. But legacy, real legacy, comes from the work you own, the choices you make, the career you build on your own terms. 2024. Clint Eastwood is 94 years old. James Bond is on its 7th official actor. The franchise continues. The formula persists. The money flows. And somewhere in the history of that franchise, there's a footnote. A meeting in the Polo Lounge in 1970. An offer made to Clint Eastwood. And one word. No. The producers thought he was crazy. Thought he was arrogant. Thought he'd regret it. They were wrong. About all of it. Because Clint understood something fundamental about career and art and legacy. You can't build something of your own by playing someone else's character. You can't create a legacy by serving someone else's franchise. You can't be yourself by pretending to be Bond. And so he said no, and built an empire on that refusal. An empire of his own choosing, his own building, his own vision. Not bigger than Bond, perhaps, not more profitable, but his, completely his. And in the end, worth more than all the Bond money in the world. Because money disappears, fame fades, franchises end, but work you believe in, work you control, work you can be proud of, that lasts, that matters, that's real. The producers left the Polo Lounge thinking Clint made a mistake. Clint left knowing he made the only choice he could live with. And 60 years later, the choice still stands, still proves itself, still shows what happens when an actor values art over commerce, control over fame, self over franchise. One word: no. The most powerful word in Hollywood. The word that built a legend, not by accepting everything, but by refusing what didn't fit, what didn't matter, what made him rich and famous and ultimately unhappy. Because some cages are gold, some prisons are prestigious, some traps are disguised as opportunities. And the only way to avoid them is to say no. Even when everyone says yes, even when the money is enormous, even when the opportunity seems perfect. If it's not yours, if it doesn't serve your vision, if it turns you into someone else's creation, say no. That's the lesson from March 1970. From the Polo Lounge, from two producers who offered the world, and one actor who said one word and changed his career forever: no.